Is it worth becoming a tech in 2025? Let's talk about it. Video, I want to go over the pros and cons of the auto body industry. Just a short little list that I've come up with being in the industry for 7 years. Let's start off with the pros. The thing I'll start off is that you're able to build skills. The skills you learn as an auto body technician is welding, metal work, assembly, reassembly, frame straightening, a little bit of mechanical. And sometimes in different shops, depending on what shop you work at, you could even learn how to cut glass, doing windshields and quarter glass. As far as going to like super deep mechanical where you're like taking off dashboards and doing some electrical work. Being an auto body technician, you do learn a lot of different skills. And for me, I feel like they're transferable. Welding, you weld on steel or aluminum and you can take that skill and do some fabrication. Or disassembly and reassembly, you go and disassemble stuff. Metalworking, filler work where you have to shape that body filler, make sure it looks good again. Pro for me, you're able to just build a wide variety of skills. And coming out of high school, I've worked at restaurants and warehouses. Those jobs, it didn't really require too much skill. I always felt like I was easily replaced. At least in the body shop, it's a little bit harder to replace you, especially once you get good. A lot of people are not going to have the skills that you have as an auto body technician. So you could take these skills wherever you go. You can go to a different shop, or if you need to move to the other side of the country, you can do that. You could even move out of the country and even work in different places. The pro for me that you're able to build these skills. The pro is work schedule. In the body shop, you usually work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. For me, this was important because when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, I was working at restaurants where my shifts would be up and down like everywhere. Sometimes I'd work day shift, sometimes I'd work night shift. I'd be working almost every weekend, holidays. Even when I worked in warehouses, it'd be that I'd still work weekends. The shifts were a little bit, I'd work in the day shift. My weekends were like a weird like Monday, Tuesday, or a Thursday, Friday. In the body shop, it's really stable, which I like. It's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You can, if you want to, work a Saturday or work a little bit later than 5, but that's completely up to you. At least shops that I've worked at, they've never forced me to work a Saturday, or if they never forced me to work over 5 o'clock. It happens usually sometimes at warehouses and restaurants where they can call you in, or they can be like, hey, it's mandatory 6 days, 10 hours, or what. Luckily, all the body shops I've worked at, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Another pro is that you get to work indoors and in one location. So let's compare that to like different trades like plumbers, electricians, or construction workers, where they have to be sent off to different job sites on different days. Sometimes you could be driving 1 hour, sometimes half an hour, sometimes even up to 2 or 3 hours or so. At least in the body shop, you have one location where you just drive, and that's where you do all your work. I have a couple brothers in the construction industry, and they're always being sent off to different places, or they could get pulled off a job site and go on to another one. And again, for me, it's just cool that I just work in one spot and that's all I do. And working indoors is nice. You're out of the elements and you work all year round. If it snows, there's still work. If it rains, there's still work. If you work at a good enough shop where they have AC and heat, that's also really nice. I know there is some shops that don't have AC and heat, but from the shops I've worked at, sometimes they do have AC, or at the very least they have a swamp cooler, but for the most part all of them have heat. Definitely nice to be out of the elements and be able to work in a shop, and it's a lot more comfortable. Also, what I like about being a body technician is it's a different workflow and it's not just mundane and boring. So at the warehouse I used to work at, you just stood in one spot packing up different packages, or you're in a box truck, you're loading boxes up, and you're kind of just doing one thing over and over and over again. In working as a body technician, you're doing different things. You're either doing metal work, you're either welding, reshaping body filler, disassembling something, putting something back together. So it's definitely different, and I feel like your mind is always engaged, and for me it's fun and I really enjoy it a lot. And if we compare this to like mechanic work, where mechanics mostly spend all their time under the hood, nice to that as a body technician you're able to kind of work all around the car. You're either under the car, inside of the car, wherever you're at, but it's more than just being under the hood. Now I want to get into some bad parts of the body industry, the cons list. One of the cons is working around hazardous material. Work around a lot of hazardous material, filler dust, adhesion promoter, adhesion remover, a lot of different chemicals, paint, primer, lacquer thinner. These products can be super harmful to you if you don't wear the right protective equipment. But honestly, sometimes you just get into workflow where you're just busy and you forget to put things on, and next thing you know, you got some stuff on you. Also, like, you work around a lot of, you have to grind stuff off, you have to cut stuff off, work around a lot of sharp objects. Things can get in your eye, you can cut yourself. So yeah, it can be a dangerous job if you're not super careful, but always just try to wear your protective equipment, whether you're doing something like you're cutting, wear your gloves, wear your glasses. When you're sanding filler, wear your mask so that dust doesn't get into your lungs. Careful, you don't have too much to worry about, but still, working around all these different chemicals and sharp objects, it can definitely be dangerous. The con is the beginner or apprentice stage can be slow and the pay isn't always super good. My first 2 to 3 years being an apprentice, it really sucked because it's a lot. There's a lot to learn in the auto body industry. Like I said, you have to learn the removal and install of parts, disassembling a bumper, disassembling a door, and putting all that back together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and it could definitely be hard. And then not even just that, once you get past that, then you get to fixing dents, and you have to learn how metal moves. Applying filler, you have to learn how to shape filler, how to sand it correctly, what grit to use, and on top of that, you got welding and different things. So it's all definitely hard, and it's all a lot at once. And it could definitely be hard when you're first learning it. You could get hit with like different things, and it can be super hard. Plus, you don't get paid too much. It can be very discouraging sometimes. I do recommend having a second job within those first 2 to 3 years of apprenticeship. Me, I had 2 jobs when I was 5-6 years in. I wish I would have started in this industry earlier, and I wish I would have had a second job earlier, but you learn as you go. Another thing is that work could slow down, and this sucks especially for guys on commission, or if you go on commission. You get paid by the car, and so when there's no work, you don't get paid. And sometimes you just show up to do nothing. You might clean up, you might, organize your tools, and then the day goes by and you do nothing. You might have 1 or 2 cars, and that could really affect your paycheck a lot. If you work at a good shop, slow times don't last too long, maybe like a month or so. I've been lucky enough to work at shops where it hasn't gotten too bad. Like, it might be a month, it might be a month and a half, at the max 2 months. Again, if you work at a good shop, work should pick back up, cars should drop in, and you're ready to go again. And the last thing I'll say about pros and cons, I don't know if this is a pro and con for me. So you have to buy your own tools, and for me, it could be a pro, but it could also be a con. So the pro of that would be that it's your tools, you own them, and you could take them wherever you go. You're not dependent on a shop to provide you tools. And granted, yes, you do have the skills, but also, for me, you also have those tools that you could take wherever you go. And also on top of that, you could do your own thing on the side. But I do understand that a con of that would also be like the cost of tools. You don't have to just buy Snap-on. There's different types. There's different tools at different price points. But all in all, you do still have to spend money on doing your job. And that could kind of suck. But for me, I guess I like to buy tools. It's fun for me. So it's kind of a pro because, again, like, I could take them anywhere. At the same time, it sucks when, you have to buy. So I just recently bought a Cornwall toolbox, and they could be very expensive. Just different things you need. And also, what you use on a 2010 car will no longer work on a 2020 car. Or, you got different types of specialized tools. You got Torx, reverse Torx, triple squares. It seems like these car manufacturers just keep coming out with new ideas to bolt something on, which is kind of frustrating because you have a good set of sockets, and then you go to disassemble a car and they use a Torx, and then instead of a Torx they'll use a triple square, and it could just be different. And by the time you know it, you end up with a bunch of tools, and they're not cheap. So that could be the frustrating part, is that you have to keep buying tools. You can never have enough, but I'll leave that up to you guys if that's a pro and con. Last thing I would say is, since I am blue collar money, I do want to talk about the money side of auto body. I think that the money is still there. The guys I've talked to, and the guys I've talked with, and the guys that I've worked under, they've made pretty decent money. The auto body industry always gets a bad reputation of, oh, you can't make money, the insurance is ripping people off. Even with all that, the money is still there to be made. And this is why this channel exists, is because I'm pursuing financial independence, and I want to show you guys how a blue collar person does that. You don't have to work a fancy job to achieve financial independence. You could be a normal blue collar person or just a normal worker and still be able to achieve financial independence. So if you want to follow me on my journey, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video.